what is reusable packaging?
Well, thank you. It's great to be here and talk about exciting area development that has been around, but continues to find way to achieve high performance and create value, and certainly emerge as one of the solutions to solve a lot of the problems that we have in society today, which we'll get into. And the notion of reusable packaging is simply packaging that can be used over and over again. But what that means is that it was designed and manufactured to be very durable, to have stability, that has properties that allow it to be used for its intended purpose, be recovered, and put back into use. In effect, you're able to use a product that doesn't create waste, that actually is used over and over again for an extended period of time. Our particular focus at the Reusable Packaging Association is on transport or distribution packaging, the business to business movement of goods in supply chains. So we represent member companies that are involved with pallets, crates, totes, bins, trays, things that are used to carry goods from, say, a point of harvest to point of processing or point of manufacture, from distribution, say from manufacturing to point of sale. And these products are ubiquitous, but used commonly around the world to be able to move goods as efficiently as possible. So the idea of reuse is to actually have durability inherent within these products, but really also the systems in place that these products can be recovered and put back into use, go back to their intended purpose and point of fill, that can start that journey again. So those are two very important characteristics when you're looking at to reuse: the strength and durability to last, oftentimes measured over a point of years, and the system in place for collecting these products after they're used and moving them back to the first point of their use in terms of filling and moving that product over again.
And those systems, it seems like there's some taxonomy, some groupings of different kinds of systems that are used. And I've kind of heard of closed loop and open loop. I don't know whether that's the right terminology, but can you educate us a bit on that?
Sure, and there's a lot of difference of viewpoints when you hear closed loop and open loops that are very popular terms used within our industry, and we actually took a step to define them and what they mean. And simply, a closed loop often refers to, from our perspective, is the movement of these reusable packaging products under, say, the same ownership or under, say, the same accountability of ownership of the products. And generally, you'll see that more of an A to B, back to A distribution, where it's enclosed environment, where all of the touch points, all of the movement is well controlled, usually under the same management. And that closed loop, generally refers to a system that is captive in terms of those products and those assets, whether they're pallets or totes, bins, and they have that closed loop. There's no openness or gaps in which they may go that's outside of the management or control of the organizations involved.
And what would an
Conversely,
example of that be?
that could be, for example, the automotive parts from a point of manufacture shipped into an automotive assembly plant that are then used to build the vehicles. And then the packaging can go right back to the parts manufacturer for refill and movement. So it's a very much of a closed system that's generally under the management of the supplier of those parts, or the assembly OEM, excuse me, of the providing those parts into the car assembly, car brand dealership, dealer manufacturer, for example.
And who typically owns these? And the reason why I'm getting into that question is when we fast forward and talk about IoT, where you're starting to put tracking devices and radios and computing in those things, then that becomes relevant. So who owns them typically in a closed loop system?
Yeah, it varies. Usually it it's the supplier of the parts. You find is common to owning the assets. Not all of the case. Many cases in the, such as the automobile industry, it could be the car manufacturers. They own and try and have control of the entire process in which parts are being brought into the assembly. In most cases, those are the working environments in which packaging needs to have specifications to either accommodate or to be most utilized within the manufacturing or assembly operation. So in those cases, it could actually be the user that owns the fleet or the pool of these assets. Again, having it more of the specificity behind the packaging, working properly and within the control of their own, parts, receiving parts and usage of the parts outside of the packaging. But it could vary. Maybe a co-ownership could take place. But you see that quite a bit within closed loop systems. That it's fact the user or uh, the 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 manufacturer that is actually owning the transport packaging.
I love these conversations because you end up digging into something that we all think we understand, and then you realize, oh, I don't understand this. This is a whole world. There are people who live their entire careers optimizing this stuff, and there are associations like yours that focus on it. We have a customer who's in that business, and they're a pooler. And the amount of technology and expertise that goes into, and it's really cool seeing the processing plants where thousands of these things are coming in. And in the case of they do fruit and vegetables, and so they're all kind of washed and stacked, and the different business models, and you see it across different industries. It's amazing. So, okay, so closed loop. What about open loop? What's open loop?
No, open generally where the reusable packaging product over its planned journey goes outside of, say, ownership or management of those assets. And you see this a lot more in retail, where there's much greater complexity of the supply chain that may go product being packed in a reusable container from the farm. Goes to either a processing facility or perhaps direct to a distribution center at retail, then actually could trans be transported directly to a store. And the at the store level, the particular retailer may not have ownership or full accountability or even visibility of the assets. There's a system in place for their recovery. But in terms of the loop, we like to think of that as uh, when you have a case where the transport or movement of the product at some point goes outside of say a controlled or managed facility in terms of the accountability for the assets. It doesn't mean that they're in the wrong place. It's actually predetermined that that's where they need to go as part of the process. But they require much greater awareness and record keeping. And certainly follow up to be able to manage those reusable packaging products in that type of a open loop system. You mentioned the word pooler, and this is where a poolers often come into play to be able to manage the complexities, to be able to work with the variety of touch points and locations that creates more complexity or added layers of touch points for the assets. And that's where you've got special organizations that maybe own the assets and they lease them out, for use. And they're in effect the owners and managers of those assets, making sure that they're recovered and replenished and brought back to the user in a timely manner and a just-in-time basis. And pooling actually is a role within our industry that's just destined to grow. As more and more companies are looking to utilize sustainable, reusable packaging within their operations to be able to eliminate waste or achieve other cost saving benefits, they may not want to have management of the assets. They may not want to purchase them using their own capital. And so, in many cases, they'll outsource, to a third-party pooler that has that expertise, that has that dedicated business model to be able to provide the crates or the pallets or bins when needed, and certainly maintain possession and control of those assets and being able to provide that service to to the users of those products. And so that's where poolers, I think, in this as the supply chain continues to evolve and look for new business models. I think that's a very important area that really is destined for growth. When you look at, say, the circular economy, which is a popular economic model, and they talk about that a circular economy can lead to trillions of dollars of growth. It really is these types of new businesses, these services that are asset managers, being able to eliminate waste or design out waste from business, being able to extend the life and value of products over time. Those are really where you're going to find this kind of new economy on the shared side, on the service side. That could be poolers, they could be repair, they could be remanufacturers or washing, services to be able to clean and sanitize for further use in food applications, for example. So this is where our industry and the infrastructures to be able to look at either both closed or open loop, in particular those that are more complex. There's a wide variety of roles that can be at play and that come into play and emerge actually as new businesses to support the industry.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Mr. Beacon podcast here on YouTube. You can listen to the rest of this episode on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed it, please like and share this video, and be sure to subscribe for more weekly videos. For more information about Wiliot and IoT Pixels, head on over to wiliot.com.